Well, hello everybody. I wanted to start out the video by thanking everyone for all the awesome comments that you made on my video a few days ago, welcoming me back on to YouTube. Thank you so much. They meant the world to me. I just still smile whenever I think about reading through my comments section. It was so good to hear from you all, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And today I'm going to talk to you about using different media. That is just such a quandary sometimes that orchid growers get into. Which medium do I use? So I've learned a little bit about it through the years. I've been growing now for almost 20 years. I can't believe I'm saying that, but my daughter is now 20 years old, and I think I bought my first orchid about the time that she was a baby. So I've learned a little bit about being flexible and watching the plant and actually looking to see what the plant prefers. I believe that's your best bet. For a long time, I grew mainly in water culture, and then I went a little bit overboard and I put them all back in some type of a medium. And I believe that the best thing to do is something in between, watching the plant and seeing how it's doing in the medium that it's in. So here's a section of my sunroom where all of these orchids are in spike. Some of them, most of them are in double spike. And I have, let's see, of all of the ones that you see, every one but one is in Orchietta medium-sized bark. And you see that I have one in water culture over here that is the most unusual form of water culture I think I've ever seen. This plant just really does like a variation of water culture. As you see, these roots that are spilling over, they require water, or these bottom leaves just shrivel up and they're not happy. Plus, this root is growing side roots on it. I don't know what you would call that, but look at how this root is growing. When I first put it in water culture about 2 months ago, they didn't have these side roots here. So this is the way this one's happy. I decided that I was going to put all of my large phals into the medium-sized Orchietta. That one didn't like it, and it let me know really, really quick. So when I changed it back into water culture a few months ago, it perked right up. It just got really, really happy again, and now I have a double spike. The other exception is my Phal Baldwin's kaleidoscope, and it's been in moss, and I decided to keep it in moss. It had some rotten roots in it a few months ago. I did a makeshift repot on it. I actually was able to save the moss back in it because it was perfectly fine. But I actually took this one out of the pot about 2 months ago. I cut back all the dead roots, and it is doing great. It's got a secondary spike and it's got a primary spike. So obviously it agrees with what I did with that as far as its care a few months ago. Okay, so let's go over to the miniature Phalaenopsis that's over here in these eastern-facing windows. They love the New Zealand sphagnum moss. They require a little bit more water, and I believe that the moss retains more moisture, and so they're just thriving in this New Zealand sphagnum moss. Here you see an exception. My little Phal Lawrence, Soho Lawrence, did not want to have anything to do with sphagnum moss. It was like, I like water culture, and the way that this Phal is shaped, it just won't sit upright in a pot. It likes this vase, and as you see, it's got a little tiny bit of bark right there, but it's not down in the water culture. Several of you asked me, do you fertilize them in the water culture? Oh yes. If you don't, the leaves will all fall off. They have to have a lot of nutrients in the water culture, the same as in the medium. So what you're seeing here is the same fertilizer mixture that I used with the ones in medium that I was talking about the other day. I fertilize them quite a bit, and they're in water for about 5 or 6 days. As soon as I see the roots going fuzzy, that's when I drain them, every 5 days or so. And then I rinse it out with fresh water, let it set for about a day or two, and then I refill back to about, I'd say about half of those roots are in water. You watch those leaves, and when they're nice and pretty and firm and unwrinkled like this, you know they're happy. So I have exceptions to the rules. And when you take a plant that's been doing really well, and all of a sudden it just doesn't look happy anymore, take it out of the media. If you see that you don't have many roots left, try water culture, even just for a week or two. That is what I did with my Phalaenopsis. As you see, she's back in bark now. But about 6 months ago, I noticed she was looking very unhappy. She didn't have any roots. All that was left was air roots. So I put her in water culture for about 2 weeks. That's all it took. She just sprang right back. And now she's back in bark. Am I going to put these other two back in some type of medium? I don't think so. I think they're really happy in the water culture. So, you have to watch your plants and just gauge, are they happy or are they not? It's like my grandmother said, you got to look at them and see where they want to be, where they want their home, and what they want to be grown in. That's really good advice. I use that many years later. She told me that. I still remember my grandmother's wise words of wisdom. And another little note about medium. When you are fertilizing at a higher rate like I am right now, you will notice that your Orchietta bark gets a white residue on it. Make sure that you flush that out very, very thoroughly. This is brand new Orchietta bark that my magic art is in. Look at this huge spike that's starting right here. It got to the point where salts had built up to the point where really I couldn't flush it out well enough. So about 2 months ago, I put this one in fresh Orchietta bark. So obviously when you're fertilizing more, you're going to have to really watch your medium and make sure that you're flushing. And if you can't flush out that white salt residue, make sure you do a repot. You're going to get gorgeous blooms when you are fertilizing at a higher rate. But I have had issues of salt buildup, so I want y'all to just be aware of that. Also, some of my miniatures that are in the New Zealand sphagnum moss, since I have been fertilizing at a higher rate, I have gotten more spikes. This is Buddy Fowl. He's got two primary spikes coming out. This one just came out of bloom. This is my starfowl. But do you see the size of these, quote, miniature Phalaenopsis orchids? Since I have been fertilizing them at a higher rate, the moss was getting brownish looking. And I knew as soon as I saw some dead roots in there, I needed a full repot. So I completely changed out that New Zealand sphagnum moss. I think that both of them had been in the same New Zealand sphagnum moss for about 2 years. So just check on that. Make sure you're not getting salt residue here again, because that's what causes the New Zealand sphagnum moss to turn brown and it feels crisp or something. You'll notice the difference. It won't look pretty and fresh like it does right here. So I hope this video on different types of medium helps you all, and you all be highly favored, deeply loved, and greatly blessed, and we'll talk to you soon.